So you're looking at selling and you're getting lots of ideas as to the best way to market the property. How do you go using internet, social media, photos, video? What should you do? What shouldn't you do? Let's have a quick chat about that and do a rating for each. First of all, for sale boards. For sale boards can be handy, depends on where you are. If you're on a main road, I'd say, look, do one. Down a corner road or side road, maybe not as much. That being said, I think it's always good to have some form of signage. Even if you're a little caught, you still want some form of signage just because you never know who in the neighborhood might be looking at buying or they might have a friend buying. What I generally find is that you don't get a lot of inquiry from the board, but the inquiry that you do get can be quite good. So it might have somebody might have a specific need to be in that area. So for the board, I would give it a bit of a rating of, say, a C. I'd still do it. It's not too expensive. You don't need to go over the top, but yeah, C for the board. Brochures. Different people will give you different ideas with all these different types of brochures and flashy things and whatnot. Really, these days, all you need is something that looks sharp but basic. So a double-sided A4 is fine. It doesn't matter if it's a $500,000 property or a $5 million property. Digital brochures are kind of the fashion now anyway. You still want something that people can take away from them. You don't want a flimsy A4 photocopied thing, but at the same time, you don't need a 6-page brochure that's going to cost you $300-400. So a nice looking brochure, double-sided A4 is fine. And look, for brochures, not a necessity. I'd still do them. They're not too expensive, and I'd give them a rating of C. Photos. This is one area where you definitely can't cut costs. You want to make sure your photos look really good. You only get one chance to make a first impression, so make sure that you get a good photographer out. If it's the right type of property, you may do twilights. Look, I will see some people or agents that still take their own photos. You're probably looking at about $300, probably maybe a little bit less for a professional photographer to come out and take some really good shots. For the sake of $300, make sure you get good photos. Photos, look, it's definitely an A+. Floor plan, site plan. So I think a floor plan is really important. A lot of the time when people are looking online, they'll look at the photos before they even read the editorial. They will have a look at the floor plan to see if it's suitable, how big the rooms are and so forth. If you don't have one there, from an agency perspective, we get lots of people saying, can we have a copy of the floor plan, or do you have a floor plan or something like that? Again, relatively inexpensive. So for the cost, I think it's fairly important to do. It's not going to be a deal breaker, but I think I'd give the floor plan a B. Editorial. So this is a big one. What's really funny with the editorial is most people want as much information as quickly as possible. Quite often dot points to find. People want to know how many bedrooms, bathrooms, heating, cooling, car accommodation, a couple of local points of interest. A lot of the time I feel that editorial is done more for the owner's benefit because they like to see a nice write-up of their home and all the lovely things about the home. And there might be some really good features that you do want to point out. And look, again, editorial won't be super expensive. That being said, you can do a lot through ChatGPT. So it depends on the property. But yeah, look, you still do one, whether you get somebody to do it, whether you do ChatGPT, or whether you just do dot points. Look, editorial, I'd probably rate as somewhere like a C. Video. Video is a really interesting one, and it really depends on the property and also what you're going to do with the video and the quality of the video. So I think video can get really good traction, especially if it's a unique property when you're on social media, which we'll talk about in a second. So I think for your unique properties or the higher end properties, a video is really important. For a normal property, your stock standard home, look, I probably wouldn't worry too much because, again, the videos can be a little bit expensive depending on who you use. They really can range from anywhere from $300 to in the thousands. So you can get a really good one done, though. I don't think you need to spend $2, $3, $4, $5,000 and have a Hollywood budget. I think you can get a really good video done for $500, maybe even a little bit less. So again, for a unique property, I'd say go for it. But for your normal one, probably not. So for a normal home, I'll probably rate it a C. For a unique property, an A. So let's put it somewhere in the middle and call it B for video. Database marketing. This is something that's really interesting. The days of the database have gone a little bit. Obviously, every agent will say they've got a huge database of buyers, but think about from a buying perspective when you're looking, how often are you actually trolling through the emails that various agents send you with what they've got? Most activity is done online, looking at websites and so forth. So anyone that says that, you've got to go on the database, look, I think it's good to be on the database and agents should do it for free. Any agent that will charge you a database cost is basically ripping you off and just putting it in their back pocket. So if they're going to do it for free, yep, go for it. That's fine, but do not pay for it at all. So look, really, database marketing, I'd give it a D+. Social media, again, something that's really interesting and something that's come along a lot more in the last couple of years with what you can do. Some agents have got their head around it. Some haven't quite yet. It can be done really well or really poorly. Again, like video, I would say that a unique property is worthwhile doing a good social media campaign on. I think any property you still want to put on social media to get some traction, but you might have a small budget for just your normal kind of home. It might be $100 or so. If you've got a unique property, it might be $500 to $1,000, and that's where the video is important as well, because video tends to get more traction on social media. And again, if it's a unique property, it's more likely to get shared a lot. It's going to get a lot more interaction and so forth. So if you've got a unique property and the agent knows what they're doing with social media, then yeah, go for it. So in this day and age, really, social media done well, I'm going to rate it an A. Paper advertising. Many years ago, I did paper advertising. Local papers, magazines. Look, there still are a couple floating around, but realistically, any agent that will get you to pay for it, again, you're just getting ripped off. So don't spend any money whatsoever on local on paper advertising. Again, if anyone suggests it, I'd be surprised, but you still will get the odd agent that will say that it's something worth considering. But yeah, look, paper advertising, F. Weekly guides and magazines. So this is where the agent will put your property in their own exclusive magazine and so forth. Again, it's something that looks flashy. Realistically, it's probably not really going to get any traction whatsoever. If the agent's going to do it and they're going to pay for it, then look, fantastic. A lot of the time, they'll try to get you to contribute towards the cost. And really, you're going to get absolutely pretty much nothing out of it. So if they're going to pay for it, go for it. But if you're paying for it, I give it a D. Internet advertising, the big one. So this is the biggest cost. Internet advertising in Australia is the most expensive in the world. You're probably aware realestate.com and Domain are the two big ones. Realestate.com will charge the most. A lot of the time, people will say to me, look, can we sell it without realestate.com? And realistically, you can. But unfortunately, you may be missing out on buyers. So I'd say that they're probably a necessary evil. You've got to be on there. With realestate.com and Domain, they've got a number of different tiers of advertising you can do. And realistically, you want to be in those top two tiers. So again, it's expensive. Unfortunately, with realestate.com, as I said, it's a bit of a necessary evil. But yeah, I'd strongly recommend that you've got to be on there to get as much traction as possible. Any other website is probably not really worth considering. A lot of them you'll go on for free, and that's fine. Again, an agent won't really get any inquiry from them. That being said, you might have the odd property where, it might be a development property. So a website like Development Ready might come in handy, but all the other players, unfortunately, at the moment, aren't really competing with the bigger two. So spend money on realestate.com and Domain. Again, you just got to kind of do it. Any other website, and unless it's a niche market, you're probably not worth considering. I hope that really helps. What you'll find was, depending on where you live in Australia, the cost will be a little bit different. All your marketing, realistically, apart from the internet, is going to be, maybe a couple of $1,000s. The internet's a big one though. Depending on where you live, especially with realestate.com, they'll charge you in different amounts. You could be looking at $1,000. You could be looking at $5,000. So again, it's a necessary evil. I think you've got to make sure that you're basically encouraging as many people or getting as many eyeballs on the property as possible. The more people you get having a look at it, the more people you'll get through, and hopefully the more offers and the better result you get. So hopefully you found this helpful. Good luck. Any questions, please note them below.